Tutankhamun's mask is an icon. And I think part of it is because it is made of solid gold, and a lot of people get wowed by that.
After years of quiet study and long-held assumptions, King Tutankhamun's golden mask has suddenly returned to the center of global attention. For over a century, it was treated as a finished story, admired for its beauty, but rarely questioned beyond the surface. Recently, however, careful scientific examination using powerful modern imaging tools has reopened that story in an unexpected way. Subtle internal details, long hidden from view, have sparked fresh debate among experts and renewed curiosity worldwide.
The main challenge was first to remove the old repair, where a lot of very strong adhesive had been used, an artificial glue, and that was very difficult to remove.
What once seemed fully understood is now raising new questions about craftsmanship, history, and royal burial practices. As researchers take a closer look, the mask is revealing clues that challenge old beliefs and suggest there is still much more to learn from one of history's most famous treasures. Join us as we uncover what the researcher discovered. The scan that changed everything. Long before most of us were born, King Tutankhamun's golden mask had already become one of the most famous objects on Earth. It sat quietly behind glass, glowing with gold, admired by millions, and treated as a finished story. Many people believed there was nothing new left to learn from it. But recently, that belief began to crumble when scientists decided to look at the mask again, not with their eyes, but with powerful modern imaging tools designed to see what humans never could. This was not done to chase drama or headlines. Researchers had a serious reason. The mask is fragile, priceless, and impossible to open or cut apart. Touching it the wrong way could damage history forever. So instead, experts turned to extremely advanced scanning methods that can safely look beneath the surface without damaging a single grain of gold. These scans work by reading tiny differences in materials, thickness, and structure, allowing scientists to build a detailed picture of what lies inside. As the data came in, something unexpected began to appear. The mask was not as simple as people once thought. It was not one smooth piece made all at once. Instead, the scans showed that different sections were crafted separately and then joined together with great care. Even the gold itself told a story. Some areas were made from slightly different gold mixtures, meaning the craftspeople adjusted their materials depending on the part they were working on. This alone revealed a level of skill that still amazes modern experts. But that was only the beginning. When scientists looked closer, they noticed small details that raised bigger questions. The ears of the mask were pierced, which was unusual for a male pharaoh. The way certain symbols were shaped and attached did not fully match what was expected for Tutankhamun alone. These details suggested that the mask may have gone through changes before it became what we see today. This led researchers to a careful and serious idea, not a wild claim, but a thoughtful possibility. The scans hinted that the mask may not have been made specifically for King Tut at the very start. Instead, it could have been adapted from an earlier royal design, possibly created for someone else, then carefully altered when Tutankhamun died unexpectedly at a young age. In ancient Egypt, sudden deaths often forced royal workers to act fast, reusing and modifying sacred objects to meet burial traditions in time. What shocked scholars was not just the idea of reuse, but how carefully it was done. The scans showed no rush, no sloppy work. Everything was adjusted with respect, precision, and deep religious meaning. This changed how experts viewed ancient Egyptian burial practices. It suggested flexibility, creativity, and practical decision-making within a culture often seen as rigid and unchanging. Just as important, the scanning process proved something else. It showed how modern science can gently reopen old chapters of history without destroying them. The mask had been silent for thousands of years, yet with the right tools, it began to speak again. Not loudly, but clearly, sharing hints about the people who made it, the pressure they faced, and the choices they had to make. As researchers stepped back from the results, one thought lingered in the room. If a single object, studied for over a century, could still surprise the world, then how many other secrets might still be waiting, hidden in plain sight? And if this mask holds layers of untold history, what other ancient treasures might change everything we think we know once they are seen in a new way? Why King Tut's mask was re-examined with advanced imaging. After the first discoveries began to surface, many people wondered why scientists even felt the need to study the mask again in the first place. After all, it had already been examined for decades, written about in books, and displayed as a symbol of ancient Egypt across the world. To the public, it looked complete and understood, but to experts, the mask still carried unanswered questions that older tools simply could not resolve. In the past, researchers were limited by what technology could safely do. Cutting, drilling, or opening the mask was never an option, because even the smallest mistake could cause permanent damage. Early examinations relied on what could be seen on the surface or guessed from similar objects. That meant many conclusions were based on patterns, assumptions, and comparisons, not direct evidence. Scientists knew there was more beneath the gold, but they had no safe way to look deeper. As technology advanced, a new opportunity appeared. Imaging methods became powerful enough to study ancient objects without touching them at all. These tools could measure thickness, detect joins between materials, and reveal hidden construction details without causing damage. For researchers, this felt like being handed a new set of eyes, ones that could finally see past the shine and into the story underneath. Another reason for the re-examination was growing debate among Egyptologists. Over time, small inconsistencies in the mask had bothered scholars. Certain artistic choices did not fully match Tutankhamun's short reign or his sudden rise to the throne. Some symbols seemed adjusted, while others appeared older in style. These details were too subtle to confirm with the naked eye, but they were enough to raise serious curiosity. There was also the question of time pressure in ancient Egypt. Tutankhamun died young and unexpectedly. Royal burials followed strict spiritual rules, and preparations had to be completed quickly. This made scientists ask whether everything in his tomb was newly made, or if some items were adapted from earlier plans. The mask, being the most important piece of all, became a key focus in answering that question. Modern imaging allowed researchers to test these ideas without damaging history. By scanning the mask layer by layer, they could see how it was assembled, where materials changed, and whether parts were altered or added later. This was not about proving a shocking theory, but about understanding the real process behind its creation. There was also a deeper goal behind the scans. Scientists wanted to show that ancient objects should not be treated as frozen relics. These items were once handled, modified, repaired, and repurposed by real people responding to real events. Imaging offered a way to reconnect with those human decisions instead of viewing the mask as a perfect, untouched artifact. As the research continued, it became clear that re-examining the mask was not about correcting the past, but about expanding it. Each new scan added another layer of understanding, turning the mask from a silent symbol into a living record of craftsmanship, belief, and urgency. And with every answer uncovered, a new question followed closely behind. If these tools could reveal so much from a single object, what might they uncover if used across entire tombs, statues, and temples? The mask was no longer just the focus of study. It was becoming the doorway to a much larger rethinking of ancient Egypt itself. Hidden construction. Secrets inside the golden mask. As scientists moved deeper into the scans, the focus slowly shifted from big theories to tiny details. What lay beneath the smooth golden face turned out to be just as important as the face itself. The images revealed that the mask was built in layers, almost like a carefully planned puzzle. Each piece had a purpose, and nothing was accidental. This was not a simple object made to look beautiful. It was engineered with deep thought and remarkable control. The scans showed that the mask was formed from separate sheets of gold that were shaped individually and then joined together. This meant the makers did not rely on one solid mold. Instead, they worked section by section, adjusting each part until it fit perfectly with the next. Even more impressive was how thin and even the gold sheets were. Keeping gold that smooth without cracking requires great skill, even by modern standards. Inside the mask, scientists noticed changes in thickness that the eye could never catch. Some areas were slightly heavier, especially around the face and neck. This was likely done to strengthen the structure and help it hold its shape over time. Lighter sections appeared where flexibility mattered more. These choices showed that ancient craftsmen understood balance and stress in ways that feel surprisingly modern. Another quiet surprise came from the way the beard was attached. The scans confirmed that the beard was not simply glued or pressed on. It was supported by an internal gold connection designed to keep it steady while still allowing it to be removed if needed. This explained how the beard could be repaired in modern times and still fit perfectly back into place. It also proved that the original makers planned for long-term care, not just burial. The materials themselves added another layer to the story. While the mask is often described as pure gold, the scans supported earlier findings that the gold was mixed with small amounts of other metals. This was done on purpose. Pure gold is too soft to hold fine details. By slightly changing the mixture, the craftsman made the surface stronger and easier to shape. Different areas used different blends depending on what that part needed to do. The eyes, eyebrows, and decorative inlays also revealed careful planning. These were not placed randomly for beauty alone. Their positions followed religious rules meant to protect the king in the afterlife. The scans helped confirm that these parts were inserted with extreme accuracy, fitting into carved spaces designed for them from the start. This ruled out the idea of careless assembly and pointed instead to a highly organized workshop. What truly stood out was the lack of mistakes. The scans did not show cracks hidden beneath the surface or rushed repairs made in panic. Everything appeared calm, controlled, and intentional. This challenged the idea that Tutankhamun's sudden death led to poorly made burial items. At least in the case of the mask, the work reflected patience and mastery, not chaos. These hidden construction details quietly changed how experts viewed ancient Egyptian artisans. They were no longer seen as workers following strict tradition alone, but as skilled problem solvers who understood materials, time, and meaning. The mask was not just a symbol of power, it was proof of knowledge passed down through generations. As the images were studied again and again, one feeling became hard to ignore. If so much care and intelligence were hidden inside a single object, then the story of the mask was far from finished. And if its inner design could reshape what we thought we knew, then the question remained. What else might still be waiting beneath the surface, unseen but ready to change history once more? Evidence that the mask may not have been made for Tutankhamun. As researchers kept studying the scan results, a quiet but powerful idea began to take shape. It did not arrive as a bold announcement or a dramatic claim. Instead, it grew slowly from small details that refused to be ignored. These details suggested that the mask's story may have started before King Tutankhamun himself ever wore a crown. One of the first things that caught attention was the ears. They were pierced, a feature commonly seen on statues and masks made for royal women or children, but rarely for adult male kings. This alone did not prove anything, but it opened a door. When scientists compared this feature with other royal objects from the same period, the difference stood out more clearly. It felt like a clue left behind by time. Then there was the gold itself. The scans showed that the gold used on certain parts of the mask did not match perfectly across the entire surface. Some sections had slightly different metal blends, not because of damage or repair, but because they were made separately. This raised the possibility that the mask was adjusted rather than created all at once. Such changes would make sense if the object had been prepared for someone else and later modified. Symbols on the mask added to the puzzle. Certain design elements appeared older in style than what was common during Tutankhamun's reign. The way some sacred markings were shaped and positioned seemed to belong to an earlier plan. These were not mistakes. They were precise, deliberate, and deeply meaningful. That made scientists wonder if these symbols were preserved on purpose during changes rather than replaced. Timing played a major role in this thinking. Tutankhamun died suddenly, still very young. Royal burials followed strict spiritual rules, and there was little time to create everything from scratch. In such moments, ancient workers would have relied on available sacred objects, carefully reshaping them to fit the new king. This was not seen as disrespectful. It was practical, respectful, and spiritually acceptable in their culture. What mattered most was how carefully the changes were done. The scans showed no rough cuts or rushed fixes. Any adjustments blended smoothly into the original work. This suggested planning, not panic. It showed that the people responsible were skilled enough to adapt an object without breaking its spiritual meaning or visual harmony. It is important to understand that not all scholars agree fully on this idea. Some believe the differences can be explained by normal workshop practices or artistic choice. That debate remains open and healthy. But what changed was the conversation itself. The scans provided real physical evidence that allowed experts to move beyond guesswork and into deeper discussion. Rather than weakening the mask's importance, this possibility made it more human. It showed a moment in history where real people had to act quickly, think carefully, and protect tradition while facing loss. The mask became more than a symbol of wealth and power. It became a record of decision-making under pressure. As this idea spread through the academic world, it reshaped how people viewed not just the mask, but ancient Egypt as a whole. The culture appeared less rigid and more adaptable than once believed. And as viewers take in this possibility, one question naturally rises next. If a single object could carry such a layered past, what happens when the same methods are used on entire tombs, chambers, and forgotten relics still resting in silence? How modern imaging is rewriting ancient Egyptian history. As the discussion around the mask continued to grow, attention slowly moved beyond the object itself and toward what this discovery meant for the study of ancient Egypt as a whole. The scans did more than reveal hidden details. They challenged long-held beliefs about how Egyptian history should be studied and understood. For many scholars, this moment felt like standing at the edge of a new chapter. For a long time, Egyptology depended heavily on surface observation, written records, and comparisons between similar artifacts. While these methods uncovered remarkable knowledge, they also had limits. Many conclusions were shaped by what could be seen or assumed, not what could be measured directly. The new imaging methods changed that balance. They offered evidence drawn from inside the objects themselves, not just from their appearance. This shift encouraged scientists to rethink old classifications. Objects once labeled as complete, original, or final were now seen as living items that could evolve over time. A burial object no longer had to belong to a single moment or person. It could carry a history of changes, decisions, and adaptations made in response to real events. This idea added depth to artifacts that had been viewed as fixed symbols for decades. The mask became a clear example of this change. Instead of being treated as a perfect, untouched masterpiece, it was now understood as the result of careful choices. Every adjustment, material change, and structural decision reflected human action. This made the ancient world feel closer, more relatable, and more complex than before. The impact extended to how future research might be done. Scientists began discussing how similar imaging could be used on other royal masks, coffins, statues, and even entire tombs. Objects that were once considered fully studied were suddenly full of new possibilities. Museums and research centers started thinking differently about what knowledge might still be hidden within their collections. This approach also encouraged cooperation between fields. Physicists, material scientists, historians, and archaeologists found themselves working side by side. Each scan required technical expertise and historical understanding to interpret correctly. This blending of skills created a richer, more balanced way to study the past, where science and history supported each other rather than standing apart. For the public, this change carried emotional weight. The story of ancient Egypt shifted from something distant and mysterious to something human and dynamic. People could now imagine the craftsmen working under pressure, the priests ensuring spiritual rules were followed, and the royal planners making careful choices during moments of loss. The past no longer felt frozen in gold. It felt alive. There was also a reminder hidden in all of this. Even the most famous objects in the world can still surprise us. Time does not reveal all its secrets at once. Sometimes it waits for the right tools and the right questions. The mask had been admired for generations, yet it still had something new to teach. As imaging technology continues to improve, the possibilities only grow. Each advancement offers a deeper look without causing damage. This opens the door to discoveries that respect preservation while expanding knowledge. The goal is no longer just to protect the past, but to listen to it more carefully. If you enjoyed this video, like and subscribe, and also click the next video shown on your screen.